The quiet hours feel different when they arrive earlier than expected. When you are young, silence is supposed to be temporary, something you pass through on the way to a fuller life. But sometimes it comes before you feel ready, settling into your days without asking permission. When that happens, the quiet does not feel peaceful. It feels like a question you have not learned how to answer yet. Nina was 28 when she began to notice how heavy the quiet had become. She lived in her childhood home again, a place she thought she had already outgrown. The walls were the same soft color her mother had chosen years ago, and the furniture still sat where it always had. What had changed was who lived there now. Nina shared the house with her older sister Mara, and Mara's 2 young children. She had moved back after their mother died suddenly, telling herself it was only for a while. Just until things settled. Just until everyone found their footing again. Life did not settle the way she expected. During the day, the house was full. The children's voices moved from room to room. There were meals to prepare, school bags to pack, toys to step over, small arguments to smooth out. Nina helped naturally, almost instinctively. She walked the kids to school when Mara worked early shifts. She stayed home with them when they were sick. She folded laundry, washed dishes, and filled in wherever there was space. No one asked her directly. It was simply understood. She was there. She was available. Nina did not resent this. She loved her sister and adored her nieces. Caring felt meaningful, especially after the loss they had shared. In those early months, being needed gave her a sense of purpose. It kept her moving forward when grief made everything else feel fragile. But as time passed, something quieter began to surface. A feeling she did not know how to name. She noticed it in small moments. Standing in the kitchen while everyone else talked around her. Sitting at the edge of the room during family gatherings, listening more than speaking. Watching her friends' lives unfold online, filled with milestones that seemed distant from her own. She felt present everywhere, and somehow absent from herself. At night, when the house finally grew quiet, Nina stayed awake longer than she needed to. She lay in bed scrolling on her phone, letting other people's stories fill the silence. Weddings, new apartments, weekend trips. The noise of it all helped her avoid the stillness that came after. Silence made her aware of the gap between where she was and where she thought she would be by now. The quiet hours did not frighten her exactly. They unsettled her. They asked questions she had no answers for. What do you want? Who are you becoming? How long can you keep waiting? One night, her phone battery died without warning. The screen went dark, leaving the room suddenly still. Nina lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft sounds of the house, the children's breathing down the hall, a distant car passing outside, a familiar creak of the floor as the house settled. With nothing to distract her, the quiet pressed closer. Her first instinct was restlessness. She turned from one side to the other, reaching for the phone again, before remembering it was useless. Then something unexpected happened. Her thoughts slowed. Not because she felt calm, but because there was nowhere else for them to go. She noticed how tired she felt, not just physically, but emotionally. Tired of being useful all the time. Tired of postponing herself, without admitting that was what she was doing. She realized she could not remember the last time she had asked herself what she wanted, without immediately answering with someone else's needs. The thought was uncomfortable, but also honest. It stayed with her long after she finally fell asleep. In the days that followed, Nina carried that quiet awareness with her. It did not demand action. It did not offer clarity. It simply stayed. When the house was busy, she forgot it. When things slowed down, it returned gently, like a hand resting on her shoulder. At night, she found herself reaching for her phone a little later than usual. Some evenings she still scrolled until sleep came. Other nights, she set the phone aside and let the quiet arrive. At first, it felt awkward. She did not know what to do with the silence. She noticed how quickly her mind filled it with worry or comparison. She let those thoughts come and go without chasing them. Slowly, the quiet began to feel less threatening. It became a space where she could sit without performing, without being needed, without explaining herself. One evening, Nina found an old notebook in her desk drawer. It was half empty, left over from a time when she used to write more often. She opened it and began to write, not because she had anything important to say, but because the page was there. She wrote about how her day felt, about moments that drained her, about small things that brought relief, like walking alone to the corner store or drinking tea while the house was still. She did not write goals. She did not make plans. She simply recorded what was true. Some nights, the entries were short. Other nights, they surprised her with their honesty. The notebook became something she returned to during the quiet hours, a place where she could hear herself more clearly. As weeks passed, Nina began noticing patterns. How often she agreed to things automatically. How rarely she paused before saying yes. How much of her energy went into anticipating other people's needs. The awareness was not sharp or accusing. It was gentle, like light slowly filling a room. The changes that followed were small and easy to miss. Nina began taking short walks alone when the house was calm, not to clear her head, but to feel the ground under her feet. She started declining small tasks when she felt overwhelmed, offering to help later instead of immediately. She spoke more honestly with her sister, saying when she was tired instead of brushing it off with a smile. At first, guilt followed these moments. It rose quickly, asking if she was being selfish or ungrateful. But guilt softened when nothing bad happened. The children were still cared for. Her sister still managed. The house did not fall apart because Nina took a step back now and then. The quiet hours continued to shape her in ways she did not fully understand. They did not give her answers about her future. They did not tell her where she was going next. What they did give her was a sense of presence she had been missing. She began to feel like a person again, not just a role. One night, sitting alone at the kitchen table, long after everyone else had gone to bed, Nina thought about how young she still was, and how old she felt at the same time. She realized that feeling behind did not mean she was finished. It meant she had been living carefully, quietly, waiting for the right moment to begin again. The quiet hours did not promise her anything. They did not offer reassurance or certainty. They simply made space. Space to feel unfinished without panic. Space to want something unnamed without shame. Space to imagine that her life was still unfolding, even if it did not look the way she once expected. Nina did not wake up one morning transformed. She still lived in the same house. She still shared her days with family responsibilities. But something inside her had shifted. She was no longer avoiding herself. She was listening. And maybe that is why the quiet hours matter more than we think. Not because they bring solutions or clarity right away, but because they allow us to meet ourselves honestly, without noise or expectation. In that stillness, even a young person who already feels tired can begin to feel real again, not finished, not fixed, just present. And sometimes that is enough to begin moving forward, gently, in a direction that feels like her own.